you permanently rethink a lot of the thoughts that you experienced the previous day. And it's just the way that we've been wired since the beginning of time, right? So it's something that science has now proven. And the reason I'm telling you that is because if you just take a step today in the right direction of saying, just today, I'm not gonna think about it. Just today, I'm gonna try and forget about it. Just today, I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. Tomorrow's gonna be easier because you're dedicating less time to that thought. And that's the way that I got through a lot of my self-acceptance. Hey everyone, welcome to the RLT podcast, where we share some real life tools, tips, and tricks to help you not only discover, but also reach your ultimate goals. What's up everyone? Welcome back to the Real Life Tips podcast. My name is Mono.
You're joined by Leon. How are you guys doing? Welcome back. It's our 9th episode. Really stoked to hear what we're going to talk about today, man. And what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today is the power of self-acceptance. I think this would be a very cool one to share, purely because I think all of us have gone through some points in our lives where we at least struggle with self-acceptance or accepting ourselves for who we are. So I think one of the first things that come to mind of some of the past experiences that I've been through, and this is going to hit close to home for me because I think I'm no different from a lot of others, but for me personally, I've been struggling with self-acceptance for a very long time. I don't know if this is something that came from childhood experiences or growing up, adolescence, going into your teens, overall not really feeling, that you are good enough for doing what you want to do or being in the relationship where you want to be as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So when it comes to self-acceptance, I guess we all can relate. At some point in your life, you either suffered, a breakup, or maybe you tried something new and you failed, and maybe that failure was met with another failure, and then eventually you get distraught and you feel that you can't do anything, and you suffer from a lack of self-acceptance and reward and so on. And I find that could be a very crippling effect, Manu? I mean, if you stuck in a place where you think you can't do something, that's really going to limit your power, and it's going to not allow you to see opportunity that might be underneath your nose. I've actually had a couple of experiences in my life, and I still find self-worth and self-acceptance issues from now and then. But every now and then I'll be presented with a very difficult situation, and I used to kind of try and buck away or steer clear from it, and it was all about Imposter Syndrome. It was about me thinking that I don't belong, or I'm not worthy, or I might stuff it up, etc.
Yeah. So in my personal life, I think just taking it from a personal point of view, I've had multiple experiences of this, and it affects your confidence going into new tasks, going into a new job, going into a new position, maybe at work. But from a relationship point of view, I have had this experience as well, where you were in a long-term relationship and things were said, and you end up breaking it off, and just the feeling, the crippling feeling that you experience after that, and self-doubt that you had, that you just not good enough, or you weren't good enough, or you just didn't give enough or do enough. And that's a crippling feeling, and I've experienced that over and over again. And usually it takes a little bit of time, sometimes a lot of time, to get out of that mindset, to start accepting yourself again, to start looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you know what, I did everything I could. I'm not perfect. I did maybe mess up here and there. But really not blaming yourself then for the failure that happened in that relationship, and that's just in a relationship in itself. But I find that happens more often than not with a lot of life experiences. I mean, you build up these massive expectations of what something is going to be and what your experience is going to be in a certain job or in performing a certain task, and you come out of it and you stuff up because you're not perfect. So at the end of the day, working that back and coming back and crawling into your little shell, or crawling into a fetal position at home, laying on the couch, just binging out on series or movies.
Self-soothing.
Exactly, yeah. And then that self-pity sets in, and it's a very, very crippling feeling. So I think this is a really, really personal topic once again, and this is what we love doing, right? We love getting personal.
Yeah. So it's an extremely vulnerable topic, and we're going to probably share some personal things that we've encountered, but I do it quite happily because I know that there's absolutely no one listening to this podcast or this episode of this podcast that hasn't gone through something similar. If you look at self-acceptance, they usually spawn from 3 different places, just to come a little bit more to the facts and so on. And it's got to do with either blame, so you're blaming someone, or you're blaming yourself, and you can't let go of it, and it's biting, and it's cringing, and it's gnawing at you. The second thing is doubt. So this is, like I said, maybe you were asked to do a speech in school when you were younger, and you stuffed up, and now you're presented with an opportunity to do a speech again as in a workspace, and you immediately crumpled into yourself and, like Manu said, crawl into a fetal position because you're just doubting yourself. You can't get past that one very embarrassing moment in your life or bad experience. And then lastly, it comes down to shame. So something that you did in your life that you are shameful of. So maybe you went out partying one night and, had a car accident afterwards that affected someone's life. Or maybe, you did something to someone and you never quite dealt with it. So shame can absolutely ruin your thoughts. It can absolutely hinder you from seeing everything again. Everything we're talking about today is creating some sort of level of mindfulness, and we'll get to mindfulness in a different episode because it's very, very dense topic. But it's creating that mindfulness where you are able to let go of these feelings and hindrances in your life so that you have clarity of mind, so that you can see the opportunities coming, so that you can enjoy life and you can spend time with people. I don't know, Manu, from those 3, what do you resonate with most?
I think all 3 of them are so intense and so correct, because I think back of that exact example that I gave, coming out of a relationship. I think there's so much blame, usually to the other party or sometimes to yourself. And I feel that you're so right in that sense of saying that you have to start with not blaming the other person, or practicing forgiveness. Forgiveness in 2 extents, right? Forgiveness of the other person, or forgiveness of the circumstance, acceptance of the circumstance, but mostly forgiveness of yourself. Yes, because 100%. In a lot of cases, when it comes to, we're talking about self-acceptance. So this is something that no one else can do for you. It's something that you have to do. And hopefully today we can leave you with some great tips on how we got past these hurdles in our lives as well. But on that topic of blame and forgiveness, right, is I think the most crucial aspect is to find a way to forgive yourself, because you're not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And we have to find a way to look past our past mistakes and accept ourselves, accept the flaws that we have, and just merely start working on those flaws to be a better person tomorrow. Whether it is in a relationship, I'm using a relationship as a very good example, because I think we can all relate to that. And I've been through some really, really messy relationships in the past, where blame was thrown around each day, every day. But the point is that I think is the very, very core starting point, is forgiveness, right? And then working on that doubt. Like you said, doubtful situations spawn from either uncertainty, or it spawns from a lack of confidence. And if you start working on forgiving yourself and working on those flaws and accepting those flaws, and just basically move forward from there, you would automatically get rid of that doubt. You will automatically, and to put this into a concept, I mean, when I came out of a very long-term relationship, I went through a really, really tough time. Took me years, but I knew this going in, that if this doesn't work out, if this doesn't pan out the way that it's that I'm planning or hoping that it would, it's going to be really tough coming out of this relationship. And sure enough, it didn't pan out the way I thought it would. And that instantly I knew from past experiences that this is going to be a very tough time coming up. So I just need to push through it as quick and as easy as possible, or as ruthless as possible. So I really, really went into self-isolation. I ripped it off like a Band-Aid. I knew that I would need to find myself again, rediscover myself and all that, because if you're in a long-term relationship, you sort of almost merge like into this blob of the other person and your person and their beliefs and your beliefs and everything as well. So I knew that for me to get over that relationship, I had to completely isolate myself, find myself again, find my passions, find my beliefs and my future dreams and all that, and basically restructure my entire life once again. So I ripped it off like a Band-Aid. I went through it, and it was a really, really tough year even, that first year. The year after that, instantly, I don't know, it doesn't happen, well, I say instantly, but I mean, it happens gradually, right? So you slowly but surely, you start healing your wounds, right? You're healing yourself and finding yourself again. And before you even know it, you get rid of all of that doubt. And I think that was the most powerful feeling that I've ever had in my life, is once you get rid of that blame, once you stop blaming the other person for screwing up, once you stop blaming yourself for screwing up, and getting rid of that second point there, the doubt, doubting yourself. Am I good enough to even start pursuing other people out there, or start pursuing other relationships out there? If this one failed so miserably, what would make me think that I'm good enough for another relationship? So absolutely, Leon, I think it's such an important 3 points there. And then getting rid of that shame, lastly, is the most rewarding of it all. And getting that self-acceptance and saying, you know what, I'm not perfect. And yes, I screwed up in the last relationship. And yes, maybe she screwed up as well. But it is what it is. I need to move on from here. I need to accept myself for who I am. And that is just such a liberating feeling, getting out of it and going forward as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually went quite deep there. It became quite personal. I love it. I've got similar stories to share. So just to get back to the relationship one, well, there's two things in life that induces these feelings. Well, I feel like there's two things. Maybe there's three. You could maybe say spiritual as well. But it's usually going to be people relationships or personal relationships. Then it's going to be some sort of professional relationship with work or something like that. And then there's maybe spiritual as well. But yeah, if you think of blame, doubt, and shame, I mean, what actually worked for me during a bad breakup as well. Also, I mean, I'll cut the messy parts out. But yeah, let's just say it was a long relationship, and it went quite well, and then it didn't go well anymore, and then it was done. The only thing that really got me through it was immediately realizing that there were good things in the relationship as well, and it also taught me a hell of a lot of things. So I took the relationship and I saw it as a learning curve in my life, and something that was never ever permanent. And when I thought about it that way, and I realized that signs were always there that it's not going to be a permanent thing. It was only ever going to be a fun thing through which I can experience buying maybe a first car and getting my first credit, and that person would be there, and getting support from someone when you messed up during varsity and stuff like that. So it was really something that and that's the only way I could get through it, because you mentioned a year of gnawing at that problem. For me, it was maybe short, but yes, absolutely, there was a very long time where there was blame, doubt, and shame, all three and every single one in between. I blamed myself for, maybe not doing the things that the other person always mentioned as wrong. And then I would doubt that maybe I wasn't good enough, or maybe there was another dude that's just that one edge better. And that then gets to the shame point as well, where maybe there was some form of shame that came out of the situation. But anyways, so another thing that I want to touch on, if we think about doubt, and we go into doubt a little bit deeper. And again, this whole topic is about self-acceptance. So doubt is one of the toughest ones to actually overcome, in my opinion. It's one of the more tangible ones. You know exactly what you doubt yourself about, but it's something that's very, very difficult to let go of. Now, life is full of experiences, and life is a permanent learning curve, and you'll never really know how your full potential if you don't constantly push yourself beyond doubt. So let's say, for example, I like to use public speaking as an example because this resonates with me quite heavily. My mom pushed me to do public speaking in school, and I hated it. I shook like a leaf standing in front of the class, standing in front of an audience, talking about some stupid topic that I didn't even write myself. It was handwritten by my mother, and I absolutely hated it. It would make me, so scared, just petrified, standing in front of all those people. And it was such a complete self-doubt. And fast forward 30 years later, now I'm quite comfortable with it, and it was really through what I found really worked for me was I started talking publicly, but about stuff that I knew I was good at. So I had the confidence in the words, I had the knowledge to back up what I was saying, and that kind of stood like a tower behind me while I was portraying my messaging to the whatever audience was in front of me. And then it was cadence, just regularly doing it until a point where you don't think about it anymore. And please believe me, I still get nervous. I'm not saying I don't get nervous. The thing is, I don't doubt myself anymore. I know I can do it. Nerves is something that should always be there. If you're not nervous about something, it means you don't care. Maybe some people in the audience will disagree with me, but usually that for me has been the case. So nerves still set in, but I never ever doubt that I can do it anymore.
So yes, just addressing the why here, because that's related to one of the previous episodes that we recorded, funny enough. But why is it so important to achieve this self-acceptance and to do it as soon as possible? And to me, I think it's just so important because the quicker you can get out of it, the quicker you can regain your confidence. And I think confidence is key. I think in life, if you really, really had to think about it and think about all of the bad experiences, all of the moments where you doubted yourself, the moments where you had a massive lack of self-acceptance, it all boils down to the confidence that you had in that moment, right? So, and that is like I said, such a crippling feeling, and getting past that as quick as possible will help you regain your confidence. I mean, take for instance, right? I have seen people who are extremely attractive. I've seen really, really attractive people in my life. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you do find that you come across someone that you don't necessarily see as attractive, but confidence, all of the confidence is there. And just having that confidence automatically spikes the attractiveness of the person. And I think, that's again referring to relationships, but not just that. I think in life in general, right? Take for instance your public speaking. If you went on there, right, and you doubt yourself and you're curled up and shoulders are shrugging and you've got your hands are shaky and your voice is shaky and all of that, instantly people pick up on the fact that you don't have confidence, the fact that you do doubt yourself to a certain extent, and instantly you don't listen to the message that they are trying to deliver. You simply just focus on pointing out their mistakes during that entire talk, right? Something we actually spoke of just the other day. And that, I think, is the key to it, right? Is self-acceptance, and the power of self-acceptance basically is translated into confidence. And once you have confidence, I feel, if you've got confidence, you can achieve anything in this world. Yeah. Because if you just walk into that room, not really know about, or know that speech word for word, but just know what message you want to convey instantly, I think the confidence picks you up and it just flows, and people just can resonate with the message that you're sharing while you're doing your public speaking speech or whatever. And in the same sense, in business, when you walk in and you doubt yourself, you don't know necessarily how to start, where to start with doing your job or doing a certain project or something like that, people pick up on that, and instantly that you're setting yourself up for failure. So I feel that once you regain that confidence, and the quicker you can do it, the quicker you can progress in life as well. So I think that in itself is the power of self-acceptance.
Yeah, that is very profound. I think, it's very much easier said than done. I think we've all crashed through some ceilings in our lives, so we know how much effort it takes in order to get that doubt out of your mind. That's all part of self-acceptance. The last one to talk about is the shame part. Now, this is a heavy one. This is a very, very heavy one. I know that many of our listeners listening now has some form of shame in their life. So when it comes to shame, I guess there's many in our audience that can relate, or that's got something in their life that maybe they're hiding, but it's that they know very acutely about it, and they still remember that day or that event or that thing that they're shameful of. This is something that can be completely soul-crushing. It's a thought pattern that's almost underlying in your brain, like a vibration of every minute of every day, that you have this shame in the back of your head. And when you approach anything in life with a shameful attitude, or not really an attitude, but some shame or some, let's call it a weight that's weighting you back or that's holding you back, everything in life again becomes harder because of it. Everything that you could have achieved and things that you wanted to do, you'll now maybe not see, or you won't go and get it and be confident and things like that. So I'll actually share one of the stories that maybe a lot of people that know me knows the story, but they probably don't know about the shame that I carried for months afterwards. But I think we all make mistakes in life, so I'll share this one. I hope I don't get any mad judgment in the comments section or anywhere from the show, or maybe we're going to lose the 5 listeners that we have, Manu.
I doubt it.
Yeah, because they're parents. No, just kidding. But anyway, so yeah, I was second year student, having the time of my life, having a blast, and absolutely just not really caring that much. And it was a great feeling. It was very freeing. I had no stress, apart from the little bit of stress for studying and things like that. And obviously we used to party a lot. So I actually went back to my hometown for a weekend to go visit the parents for the once in a year trip that I made back there. And I got together with some friends, and they had another friend there that I knew from afar, but he had a little 4x4. And we got quite, let's call it tipsy that night. And it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm always the party guy. So I said, listen guys, why don't we take that 4x4 for a bit of a spin in the bush? Yeah, when I say it loud, it's like the worst idea ever. But at that time, it sounded like an amazing idea. But anyway, so we got in the back, my mate and I, and the driver and his friend that I also knew got in the front. We started driving around. Long story short, did really, really, really well. And then there's one last hill, and it was that one last hill that we went up. And for some reason, right at the top of the hill, the car just wouldn't climb up anymore, and we started rolling back, and we destroyed the car. We wrecked the car. Everyone was okay. The one guy broke a shoulder. We got flung out of the car because obviously we weren't wearing any seat belts or whatever. And the car landed on the one guy's arm, so we had to literally push the car up onto its wheels again. So you can see how this was like a really, really bad situation, right? And all the time that evening, I was thinking to myself, holy crap, if my parents find out, I'm dead. I never ever thought about, Leon, you're the guy that put the people here, and that poor guy just lost his car. He's going to have to explain to his father why he was around that area at 2 a.m. in the morning, slightly over the limit. No, let's be honest, we were very, very much over the limit. The immediate thing that I wanted to do is get out of that situation. We at least drove the one guy with the injured shoulder to the medical facilities, left him outside. He had to go in and fend for himself, and we drove off. And for 1 or 2 days, I didn't think much of it because I was still in quite a lot of shock. But I promise you, that third day, it sunk in what had happened. And I never ever got in touch with the driver again. I never tried to just apologize. I never ever made amends. And the longer the time progressed, and the more that I thought about, it was his car. He was also a young boy, only like 20 years old, and it must have been like his only vehicle, and he probably has to work it back now, and all this, you can really start blowing it up in your head. And I just got more and more shameful as time went by. So the best way that I found dealing with it is through self-acceptance. I couldn't get a hold of the guy anymore. I couldn't even find him on social media platforms. I did try to maybe just reach out and say, listen, dude, I know it's very, very late, but I just wanted to pop in and say sorry about that evening. It was my stupid idea. I know I weren't driving or anything, but I still feel somehow accountable for the mistake. And I just couldn't get a hold of him. So the only way that I could get over this was literally through, I've done the self-loathing. I hated myself for a while there. I went through all of that pain and I felt remorse. And when you feel remorse, it means that you shouldn't really feel guilty anymore, because at least, I mean, if you're spiritually minded, you'll understand where I come from, but at least you're showing remorse. You feel like that should have never happened, and it won't ever happen again, because I learned from it.
Absolutely.
And that got me through it. Look, it took a while, but it did get me through it. But that's maybe something that our audience can relate with.
Yeah, I know. I just actually want to add on that as well, Leon, because you touched on something there that I feel is key to point out, and it's patience. These things don't happen overnight. These things take time. I knew that coming out of my last long-term relationship, and I knew that it was going to be painful, and that I have to push through it. But that was me, knowing of past experiences and stuff. Something like this happened to you, and it's still, it's such a crazy story. You've told it to me before. Yes, yeah, it's insane. And I can just imagine the shame that you had to sit and deal with, right? So that's something that you couldn't have predicted. It's something that you couldn't have planned for. And these things happen. Life is unpredictable. That's one of the things that makes life so beautiful, which sounds really weird if I put those two in the same sentence. But unpredictability in life makes it extremely beautiful. But at the same time, you can't always be prepared for these type of things that will happen to you. The only thing that you can do is push through it. Know that you are feeling remorseful about what happened. You are feeling ashamed, and I feel you're right, Leon. To a certain extent, just knowing that you are not dead inside, the fact that you understand that was wrong, you did mess up, you did make a mistake, and accepting that, and then moving past that point to say that, well, there's nothing that I can change about it now. There's absolutely no reason for you to dwell on past memories, to dwell on past experiences that were really bad and beat yourself up over it, because it's not going to benefit you today. It's not going to benefit you tomorrow. Plus, you can't go back in time to go and change those things. So the best thing for you is to give it time, execute patience, and just be in the moment and try and understand that this is normal. It is a normal process, and no one can tell you how long it's going to take for you to get through to the other side, but then move past it entirely. For me, the easiest way to get through this, and this will probably tie into some of the tips I will give you, is I recently saw a documentary on Netflix. I think it was called, I think it's part of the Explained series. So it was Memory Explained. Go and have a look at it. Really, really cool stuff. It's like a 30-minute clip. But Memory Explained from the Explained series on Netflix taught me one thing, that I think 60 or 70% of your memories or of your thoughts today are related to the thoughts that you had yesterday. And those thoughts were related to the thoughts that you had the day before. So what that actually effectively means is the fact that you permanently rethink a lot of the thoughts that you experienced the previous day. And it's just the way that we've been wired since the beginning of time, right? So it's something that science has now proven. And the reason I'm telling you that is because if you just take a step today in the right direction of saying, just today, I'm not gonna think about it. Just today, I'm gonna try and forget about it. Just today, I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. Tomorrow's gonna be easier because you're dedicating less time to that thought. And that's the way that I got through a lot of my self-acceptance, is saying that I know that I screwed up, I know that I messed up, but how am I going to get through this? And I can't stop thinking about how messed up that situation is and how ashamed I feel of that situation. But for me, I just had to start one day, pick myself up and say, just today, my goal was just to go one day without being ashamed about it, or one day without thinking about it. And before you know it, one day turns into 2 days, it turns into a week, turns into a month, turns into a year, and then maybe once every 2 years, you'll still think about it. You'll tell the story like what you're doing now and think about it and still feel a little bit of shame but at the end of the day, you've practiced self-acceptance and you've achieved it in that aspect of your life, right?
Yeah.
So there are many aspects of your life of which you need to achieve self-acceptance, but the key focal point that I want to leave is to say that the only reason we're talking about this is so that you can get through it as quick as possible, so that we can help you through it. I mean, we're not licensed therapists or anything. A lot of the time, Leon is basically my therapist. We talk about life, and I think vice versa as well. So, but it's really just giving advice from two normal guys that have gone through this stuff, and that can give some tips for you to maybe help you through a difficult time. But it's to get through it as quick as possible, to regain your confidence, and confidence is key in life. In accepting yourself, it's going to snowball. Once you've got a little bit of confidence, you'll gain more confidence. So that actually brings me to the next point that I wanted to mention, Leon. Are there ways for us to regain our confidence? Are there ways for us to feed our confidence, even if it's superficial?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a very, very important part of the podcast. So even if you skip through everything and you come to this, this is where we'll probably be able to provide some things that are, or tips maybe, that's going to help you improve your self-acceptance. So the first thing that I want to talk about is celebrating your strengths. So for some reason, human beings are wired and programmed in such a way that we are very quick to see our fault and mistake, but we don't really ever give ourselves kudos for what we're good at. So go and take a piece of paper, and I'm very, you'll notice I'm very intentional when it comes to putting things on paper. There's just something very rewarding about seeing and putting it down and writing it on a piece of, or maybe on a tablet with a stylus or something. But start writing down your strengths and the things that you know that you're good at, and you'll be very, very, very surprised. It's usually a very long list, and it's usually a much longer list than your weaknesses, even though you keep pondering and you keep festering on your weaknesses. And this is just unfortunately how people are wired. I'm the same. I still need to work on it. But if you start creating a strength list, like all my strengths and the reasons I should have confidence, and that I'm not an imposter in my space, and that I shouldn't be doubtful of my capabilities, when you look at all those strengths, you'll realize that you actually have so much to give and so much power. And it's very, very liberating. You talk a lot about confidence. Confidence is actually the combination of all of these things comes out as confidence. It's where you don't have self-doubt, you don't have a lot of baggage that you carry with you as far as shamefulness might be concerned, and so on, which allows you to be the absolute and ultimate version of yourself. And that ultimate version just exudes confidence. We just don't have a better word for it, so we call it confidence. You can't really exactly put a pinpoint on exactly what makes that person seem so confident. Is it the way that he just speaks very fluently? Is it the fact that he can do that in front of people? Is it just the fact that he knows so much about what he's talking about? What exactly is it? It's a combination of all those things. So that's why we're saying, don't doubt yourself. Focus on your strengths. Don't blame yourself for stuff that's gone wrong in life, or that maybe you had a hand in wrongful doing or whatever. And don't fester and ponder on shame and things that's gone past. It holds you back. It's like an anchor around your foot.
Yeah.
And you just can't really move forward. What do you think about celebrating your strengths, Manu? Does that make sense?
Leon, so I mean, you're so right, because we are our own worst critics. I mean, nobody can put you down as much as you put yourself down on a daily basis. I think we are so absolutely hard on ourselves that we will criticize each and every aspect of our lives way before others even notice that we have faults in those areas, right? I take, for instance, the ability for ourselves to look at ourselves and think that, everybody's going to see this wrong about me. Everyone's going to see that I screwed up. Everyone's going to see that my hair is not made up today. Everyone's going to judge me by the clothes that I didn't manage to iron today, or something like that. Stupid examples, right? But here's a simple fact in life, right? Is that nobody thinks or cares as much about you as you do, right? It sounds really, really harsh when I put it like that, but nobody really cares, right? I think you mentioned it in one of our previous episodes as well.
True.
Nobody really cares. You think that people really can think and see into the actions that you perform, the shame, the blame that you have, the self-doubt. Yes, on the surface, maybe they can see that you don't have confidence, but to be honest, to a very large extent, people won't notice the things that you screw up in life. So stop beating yourself up over it. Take your time, get through it, process it, and regain your confidence.
That's a very, very good point that you make, is that probably people don't even notice these small mistakes. Another one that's very, very important, Marna, and this is something I think me and you spoke about a lot, but you really, really need to reconsider the people around you that you spend your time with. People are toxic, and unfortunately, I'm not saying all people, please understand, but people, there's some characteristical traits, maybe jealousy, narcissism, there's some traits that make people inherently not allow others to get an edge above them and so on. So you might have a friend or a family member, and I have a feeling this is where the hair on the neck of a lot of our listeners are going to stand up, because we all have such a person in our life that just completely and utterly actually makes you feel crap about yourself. And you really need to think about who's speaking to you negatively, who's reinforcing negative self-talk. And why do you allow such hurtful things in your life? Are they just doing my own dirty work because I'm not willing to choose a different reality? So think about the 5 inner circle people. They should be people that boost you. They should be people that are happy for you if you do well. They should be people that bless you, that support you when you're struggling, that never just wants to judge you if you do something wrong. And go and identify those toxic people in your life. I remember when I was in school, I wasn't one of the outcast kids, nor was I one of the popular kids. I was like somewhere in between, right? I was able to relate to all of them. But every now and again, there's like this super cool dude, and you want to be part of his group and his clan and whatever. And you'll actually start like acting like him, doing the stuff that he thinks is cool. And then he actually puts you down most of the time, like the things that he says, because he's this big shot. He's walking, he's the leader of the pack, And at a very young age, I actually realized that this is not like really what I want to. I don't like this inequality, even at this young age, where one dude is like the main guy and he's the alpha male, and everyone else is just, after his beck and call. But anyway, that's something that you need to consider. The next one is creating a support system. Marnie, this is something I think you can relate with a lot. It's actually the flip side of what I just said. So, firstly, get rid of the negative people. Next thing, create a support system.
Yeah, I think yes. I was a little bit skeptical when you started on the topic of be very aware of the people that you hang around, but I fully understand that, and I think I'm so intrigued by that entire discussion. We've chatted on it a few times just here and there, but I feel that we should make that our next episode. Most definitely. We will have to deep dive into that some more. But now touching on building that support group, you're so right, because I think that is the one thing that always and never ever has failed me when I struggled with self-acceptance. I take, for instance, my girlfriend. So she's very, very lucky in that sense, because she's got probably 4 siblings. So she's got her own support system that won't ever go anywhere. And that has helped her a lot. We've had this chat a million times, myself and her, with regards to getting through these difficult times, dealing with self-acceptance, and just having that support structure, that support group there to help you just distract you from you beating yourself up. It's you're so right in saying that. And if you don't have that, because I'm not as lucky as her, right? I only have 1 sibling. I only have my brother. So yeah, by all means, it's not always going to work out as easy for everyone. So in some cases, you will have to build your own support structure. You will have to go and find people that will support you, that will love you, that will help you, and that will compliment you and rebuild that confidence inside yourself as well. So I think, Leon, is it time for the top tips or for the real life tip?
Yeah, action steps. So for this next week, go and write down the list of people in your life, and then next to it, write down your strengths. Go take a piece of paper. I'm saying this intentionally. Don't write it in a Word document. Don't think about it before you go to bed. Go take a piece of paper, get your favorite pen, go sit outside with a coffee and fresh air and write these things down. 2 more things that I want to touch on that's absolutely critical. Forgive yourself. So if there's something that went wrong in your life and you maybe had a hand in it, forgive yourself, because a part of self-acceptance, and the hardest one to come over, is the shame, the shame part. If you are suffering shame in your life, self-acceptance comes really, really difficult. And secondly, shush the critic in your brain. You know, there's always going to be a little bugger in your brain that's telling you you're not worthy, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you don't belong here, these people are way better, why, just tell that guy to shut up and focus on your strengths. So I think, yes, money for the week tips, go write those things down, be intentional about it. I promise you're going to probably come back next week and say, wow, it made a big difference actually putting it on paper, and then stick it somewhere. Stick it on your, we all have home offices now, so keep it around. Keep it in your sun visor in your car so that you can have a look at it every once in a while and get reinforced and build that confidence. Because a lot of people lack so much confidence. If you have a good support system, you actually crave those compliments to help you build confidence. So put those things on paper, and you'll absolutely start living a fuller life, being more mindful of these negativities that surrounds you. And once you really have that self-acceptance, like Manu emphasized so much, you'll then have confidence. And confidence, I think, is very freeing. Not that I'm a confident person. Everything we spoke about today is a daily job for me as well, and I'm working on it myself. But yeah, I think with that, Marna, do you have anything closing?
Yeah, so maybe in some cases it doesn't work for me, but I mean, I've heard that it works for a lot of people, is to journal, right? So journaling really enables you to write down your thoughts, put pen to paper, write down your thoughts for no one else to go and read, but just yourself. And sometimes you don't even have to go and reread whatever you just written down, but it's just really to declutter your mind and to really get to the core of why and what you're not accepting of yourself and why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, right? If you know that it's because you don't have confidence, because you don't have a level of self-acceptance that you would want to achieve, and you can't put a pin in it, then go and start journaling. That really helps. Some people, in other cases, affirmations, writing your affirmations every morning. Go and read up about that as well. Affirmations are basically where you get up in the morning, you write down, or at night, you write down that you are accepting of yourself. You just make statements as if they are real, true life stories of your life, right? The things that you want to be, the feelings you want to feel, the acceptance that you want to feel, right? So go and read up about writing affirmations, and if you want to give that a go, I think give it a go, by all means. For me, it's always been more a practical approach, so I've just always just thrown myself in the deep end and just been, like Leon said, being mindful of it and understanding and knowing that in this moment, yes, I'm not accepting myself for who I am. And where are these things? And if I had to go and write them down, by all means, I would write them down. But I would take a practical approach and say that I'm actively going to work on this every single day. I'm actively going to try not think about those things and try not blame myself today, and know that day by day, step by step, it will get better. So ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have time for, but thank you so much for joining. We really hope that this has been valuable. We really hope that this has inspired you, and maybe if we've caught you at a really bad time in your life where you're struggling with this, let us know if this actually really did help. And if you feel once again that you have something to add, please share it with us. We're open. We're just two normal human beings. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear if there's anything that you'd like to add to the show. So I think that is it from myself, Mono.
I'm Leon. Thank you very, very much. It was a good session, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining this episode. We really hope that it inspires and motivates you. By the way, we're giving away a free 5-step personal budget template that will help you take control of your financial goals. So just head over to rltstudios.com, sign up for our newsletter, and we will get that right over to you. So head over to rltstudios.com, and we will see you in the next episode. Until then, cheers.